be good if I had an agenda. I've lost me agenda. Yeah, but I lost my agenda somehow. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Protected it. I'll just, all right, we are reconvening at 7:50. I guess it doesn't hurt to get another roll call since we're reconvening.
Sure. Ms. Covray, can you call roll?
Manufo Leah Inga Anu. Oh, Nawa is absent. Sorry, Aaron Rashba.
Here.
Anthony Sujisaka.
Here.
Andrea Jordan is not present. Shaquille Ali.
Here. All right, communications, item 7A, board member acknowledgements and commendations, and we'll start on the right.
Okay, well, I know we still have a lot to get to, so I'll keep my remarks short. And just to say, tremendous appreciation for the organizers of the Jefferson District Art Fair last night. It was Trustee Ali and I had the honor of representing the board, and it was just really well done. Thank you to TRP for hosting and for the student artists, dancers, and band performers. We tremendously enjoyed all of your artistic expression. Great to see how much the creative arts are flourishing in our district. Thank you.
Thank you, public, for, again, the board, sorry. Thank you, public, for the, oh my gosh, the measure. Thank you. That's it. I can't English really goodly.
So as Trustee Rashba already mentioned, and I'd like to just reiterate that we had a great time at the art fair last night. So my commendation goes out to all the schools and all the artists, the young artists. I even noticed that it was accessible to everyone. I saw that there were some, I guess, coloring that the younger students did. So, but it was good to see that they all were able to present something and have their families go out there and congratulate them. And then we also got to see some tremendous dance performances as well. So it was great. And then I'd also like to just acknowledge that today is National Administrative Professionals Day. So our sincerest appreciation to all the administrative professionals across our district. Your hard work, dedication, and commitment are the foundation of our district's success. From managing the front office to supporting staff and students, your contributions are invaluable. Thank you for all that you do to keep our schools running smoothly and for your unwavering dedication to our district's mission. You are truly the heart of our district, and we are grateful for your continued efforts. Superintendent comments.
Yes, you all shared everything I was going to share. I'll just add that I want to thank Christina Sanchez. She was the facilitator and coordinator of the art festival, and I think she did a great job with her team. And it was wonderful to see all the performances and the art. And then also I want to thank Ms. Covray for coordinating today's celebration. And also it was Administrative Professionals Day, so thank you for that. And Ms. Santa Cruz is also here tonight to support and to thank her for her help with tonight's celebration.
Okay, thank you. All right, any items, persons wishing to address the board? No, okay, I'll move on. General functions, consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. Item 8C, comprehensive, 8D, resolution number 240424, National and California Day of the Teacher. The administration recommends adoption of resolution number 240424, recognizing May 7, 2024 as National Teacher Appreciation Day and May 8th, 2024 as California Day of the Teacher. Do we have a motion, second, or a motion at least?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
This is a resolution, so it is a roll
You're
call.
right.
vote.
It does say roll call. Can we get a
Mr.
roll call,
Rajba?
please?
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka,
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye. And that is unanimously approved. Thank you to all our teachers. Item 8E, Resolution Number 240424A, National School Nurse Day. Administration recommends adoption of Resolution Number 240424A, recognizing May 8, 2024 as National School Nurse Day.
I'd like to thank our hardworking school nurses and move to approve Resolution 24-424A, National School Nurse Day.
Ditto and second.
Okay, can we get a roll call?
Mr. Rajba,
Aye.
Mr. Sujisaka,
Aye.
Mr. Ali.
Aye, unanimously approved. Item 8F, Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Annual Report. Adrian Zanini, member of the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee on Measures J, U, and T, will present the annual report to the board. Thank you.
That was a Willy Wonka entrance right there. I like that.
I didn't fall on my face. Good evening, board members and administration, and seen some familiar faces out here too. Nice to see you all. This is the report to Jefferson Elementary School District Board of Trustees from the Bond Committee, Citizens Oversight Committee. As required by the statutes and bylaws of the Measurement U and J bond election and Measure T, parcel tax election, the Citizens Oversight Committee is pleased to provide our annual report to the Board of Trustees of the Jefferson Elementary School District. Members of the committee are Tony Bauden, Pamela DiGiovanni, Tom Norris, Marianne Saki, Adrian Zanini, Annette Shreve, Dong Tran, and Jessica Wan. On September 12, 2023, the committee met to review current Measure U and J expenditures and discuss the progress of the workforce housing project. Other projects discussed for Measure J also included new play structures at Tobias, Roosevelt, Susan B. Anthony, JFK, and fencing student drop-off at Daniel Webster, Thomas Edison, and Fernando Rivera, as well as interior site work, outdoor classroom spaces at Thomas Edison and Daniel Webster. On November 8, 2023, the committee met to review current Measure U and J expenditures and discuss the progress of the workforce housing project. At this current meeting, the workforce housing project was 92% completed and an estimated date of completion in spring of 2024. The committee also reviewed interior site work at Daniel Webster and Thomas Edison, the outdoor classrooms, student drop-offs at Daniel Webster, Fernando Rivera, Thomas Edison, and as well as fencing and access control at said sites. All projects had an estimated completion date in spring 2024. The committee then reviewed the 2022-23 parcel tax expenditures to determine if the expenditures were in line with the Measure T ballot language. On April 3rd, 2024, the committee met to review current Measures U and J expenditures and discuss the progress of the workforce housing project as it near completion and is waiting on PG&E to energize the property. The committee also reviewed the completion of the Daniel Webster student drop-off, Daniel Webster interior site work, the outdoor classrooms, Fernando Rivera Field, and near completion of the Fernando Rivera Thomas Edison drop-off and fencing access control. Projects at Westlake and JFK for student drop-off fencing were also mentioned as new projects. Additionally, the committee reviewed the annual independent financial and performance audit reports for Measures U and J as presented by Ahmad Garabi and partner with Ede Bailey. Based on our review and observations, the Citizens Oversight Committee finds that the district is in compliance with the requirements of Article 8A, Section 1B3 of the California Constitution, and that Measure U and J bond funds are being used for the purposes specified in the ballot languages. Additionally, the committee finds that the 2022-23 Measure T parcel tax expenditures are in line with the associated ballot language. The committee is pleased with the district's performance on the modernization bond program to date and looks forward to the successful completion of the 2024 projects respectfully submitted. Adrian Zanini, Vice Chair. Thank you. I'll try not to trip on the way back.
All right. And that was an information item, so we won't ask questions, but thank you so much. We're moving fast. Item 9E, Contracted Services, Star Vista. The administration recommends acceptance of a contract in the amount of $18,000 with Star Vista, Inc. for February 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2024. Contractor will provide counseling services focusing on illegal drugs and substances, coping skills, substance abuse, and conflict resolution to be funded by the Student Services Budget, Title I. Total contracted services with Star Vista is $146,000. Do we have any questions or do we have a motion?
I motion to approve.
Yeah, second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimously approved. Item 9F, Single Plan for Student Achievement 2023-2024. The administration recommends approval of the Single Plan for Student Achievement for the following JESD schools: Daniel Webster, Fernando Rivera, John F. Kennedy, and Margaret P. Brown, as developed by their school site council and site staff members. Representatives from each school will share highlights from their school plans. Also a reminder that each principal has 5 minutes per presentation, and we'll ask all our questions at the end of all the schools.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, board members, superintendent, and the cabinet, as well as all the audience members here tonight. The Single Plan for Student Achievement highlights for Daniel Webster School is presented. My name is Rochelle Pimentel-Ewan, and the principal at Daniel Webster. Yes, I do. So some of Daniel Webster's school goals this year is that we've made some progress towards moving up our English language learners by a level. So 53 of our 83 language learners made significant growth this year. We've also had some progress in math with our English language learners, as well as our Filipino population. And 0% of our students have been suspended this past year. So if you look at the different academic performance criterias, for our English language learners in the areas of math, we increased by 5.6 points, which is a good increase. Filipino students significantly increased by 16.7 points. And our supportive relationships, according to our Panorama survey, was 88% favorable as presented by our students. Some of the areas for Daniel Webster growth, our growth priorities that we'd like to highlight is our areas in math, as well as language arts and attendance. In language arts, this past CASP for the 2023 school year, we had 36.11% meet or exceed in English language arts of the total number of students taking the CASP test, as well as 30% of our students taking the mathematics test in CASP. So that is definitely an area that we want to focus on and continue to grow. We also have a significant increase in the number of chronically absent students. We are currently in the red with 26.4% of our students being chronically absent. And looking at our data for our FastBridge, you can see the first chart is our English language arts. We've have about 44% in our last benchmark assessment, making strides to either meet or exceed the standard in the area of language arts, and 42%, I think it was 43% actually, in math, making the same meeting and exceeding standards. For our key actions for student learning and achievement, we are focusing on our UDL techniques this year. An example would be having lesson objectives stated and written before each lesson, students being aware of what they're supposed to learn so that they know and can self-reflect whether or not they've made the gains that they need to be successful in that area. We are also focusing on our MTSS process at Daniel Webster and making sure that it's clarified and implemented across the grade levels. We also have a half-time MTSS teacher who's supporting all grade levels this year, and we're focusing really deeply on our first tier 1 first good teaching. In the areas of multilingual learners, we have our school-wide systematic ELD strategies for designated and integrated ELD that we are also focusing on. And we also have scheduled time and coverage for teachers to observe each other to make sure that we are all kind of supporting one another in implementing our ELD strategies. And teachers administer the LPAC test, which is the English language test for proficiency that the state of California gives. For positive school climate this year, we've increased our yard supervision. So we have more support out on the yard to make sure that students are safe. They have the support of adults to help with conflicts and just overall kind of a more positive feel to the schoolyard. In addition to that, we have a full-time counselor and a half-time mental health intern who meets with students who are at risk or who just need some time with someone to listen to their needs. We also have our Student of Month assemblies, which we have on our Friday assembly days. And we recognize students for, we call it ROAR, which is being respectful, on time, always safe, and responsible. So we look for students to highlight each of them each month from every single class. We also, which I didn't put up there, have our PBIS, which we focused on a lot this year, making sure that we're positively reinforcing positive behavior in the school. As far as parent engagement goes, we've had family events, our latest being our Bunny Hop or Fun Run last Friday, which was also a school fundraiser and lots of fun for the kids and families. We have multiple volunteer opportunities with the various events, as well as PTA and our school site council. In addition, this year, we started having coffee with the principal, where we meet with families and kind of just have an open agenda in addition to things that I want to present. But parents and families are welcome to kind of speak to me and just have access as much as possible. And those are our priority goals and actions for Daniel Webster this year.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Hi.
All right, no worries. My name is Melissa Mizell. I am the principal over at Fernando. So I'm going to talk about our SIPSA plan. So in terms of our community highlights this year, we've had, an increase in student voice. Student Gov, who was here several months ago, have, put on numerous activities for students at lunch. We've started student-led clubs that we really learned a lot from that we're going to continue on for next year. We've also been building lots and lots of community and advisory. We've had some in-class advisory, really trying to focus on SEL activities, as well as community meetings where the whole school comes together for anything ranging from talking about values to our what's going on in the community. So it's been really positive. And then we've had just pop-up activities that Student Gov has put on. 4-on-4 basketball tournaments, spirit activities. It's been really great. And there's a real strong sense of spirit and pride at Fernando that's been really fun to see. There's been an increase in restorative practices across the board. We've been working through staff meetings to help support staff and increase, more positivity in relationships. And then, as part of our focus on UDL strategies, engagement has been a key factor in, how we have run our professional development at staff meetings, and as well as what we're looking for when we are going through classrooms. In terms of areas of growth, we want to really continue to develop an implementation plan for becoming a restorative justice school. We really want to support our ELD learners. I'll get into, next year that we will be hiring an additional teacher to support. And then just improvement on instructional practices, just getting into those math and ELA classrooms to really help have conversations with teachers, really wanting to get other teachers to go into other people's classrooms to see what's going on, and then continued UDL support. And so moving on to the next one. As far as like key actions, we identified that we need to hire an MTSS person for next year. So that's in place so we can build better systems for intervention. We're building in support classes that'll be folded into the school day because we had identified that there's not enough time within the school day to really support student needs that are coming up. And just aligning teacher schedules with common preps and sections so that there can be more collaboration. And then just really honing in on community circles and seeing, we've done that this year in advisory and we're going to continue it next year because we know that having those circles will decrease issues around behavior. And then just continuing to build community, having continued improvements to advisory around SEL, really building a robust student gov, been working with Sue McMahon on that. We're starting enrichments next year that are going to be student-led, and that's carrying over from the student-led clubs this year. And then really having an implementation plan for restorative practices to support staff in how we manage behavior and build a positive environment for everybody. And, that's been something that we've been really working on this year. In terms of number 3 under CASP and LPAC, we want to, of course, build more proficiency in our students. So really heavy focus on UDL and Tier 1 strategies. We've been working on that this year, but really going to systematize it more next year. And then using data, we've been working on that this year as well to help teachers identify and address learning deficits in our students. And then, we are going to be using adaptive programs to help aid in literacy and math gains. And then, like I said before, we'll be adding in another staff member for next year for our students that qualify under ELD. So thank you.
Good evening. I'm Matt Harris, Principal John F. Kennedy. And John F. Kennedy, we last year saw a 15% increase in our math on the SBAC. 50% of our students exceeded SBAC standards. We're very happy about that. As you'll see in the next slide, there's been a traditional fluctuation around 50%, and that was a good spike above. 48% of our students were making their progress on the LPAC. And as my colleagues have mentioned, we've continued with the PBIS initiative, and we have 0 suspensions and much more restorative practices throughout the school day. We have peace paths out on the yard that students walk and, create consensus around conflict over. And so that's been really effective. 88% of students at John F. Kennedy report feeling supported, and our English learner progress, we increased 2% with almost 48% of our students making progress. We're really happy about that. We've got an amazing ELD teacher, and she's done a lot to work with the staff, and we're really targeting interventions both in Tier 1 and Tier 2. Growth priority areas, our chronic absenteeism, unfortunately, is 30%, and our rates in PK and TK are nearly 50%, consistent with California rates, but that's too many kids out. And so it's something we're working on improving. We've done a couple of whole class rewards for perfect attendance on random days. That actually is really great because it's the intermittent positive support. A lot more classes are showing up with full attendance, hoping to get that extra recess. We've done school-wide attendance assemblies and ongoing student attendance review team meetings with families, and that's shown a really great improvement as we sit down, get to know the families, ask them where their attendance struggles have been, and we've seen significant, relationship building improvements. And as you see, our rates in the upper grades significantly less, only 18%. And key areas and actions, UDL implementation has been observed through our principal walkthroughs this year. A lot more goals up on the board, a lot more different areas of targeted small group instruction across the curriculum. And we have monthly PTA events, either online meetings or in-person events. Our membership is now over 60%, goal for next year being 70. ELD strategies are really being incorporated into classrooms at all times. We've got just not only the amazing systematic ELD, which is taught across all grade levels, but then our ELD instructor works with priority students, getting them extra support, again, tier 2. And then positive school climate. We've got a great peacemakers and safety patrol. And because of the layout of JFK, between the yard on one side and the lunchroom on the other, I walk all students to and from and give me a chance to check in with everybody every day. And that's a real positive. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Superintendent McCulloch, and Assistant Superintendents. It is my pleasure to present to you tonight MP Brown Elementary School. I'm Beth Goff, the principal. I'd also like to acknowledge that we have 2 staff members here from MP Brown, Mrs. Radke and Ms. Acosta, in support of our presentation this evening. As we say at MP Brown, it is a we, not a me. So we are super excited because, as you can see, in our California dashboard, we are green and blue across the board. We increased ELA by 14.1 points, math 20, and our ELD increase was 10.4%. And our Fast Bridge from the fall also was at 64% of our students are reading at or above grade level. Woohoo! Our growth area, as we've mentioned, is attendance and chronic attendance. So our primary goal this year is to addressing our chronic absenteeism. And to do that, we are using a very intensive weekly attendance campaign. So school climate and chronic absenteeism, our attendance campaign involves weekly on time and on target. So students are given weekly awards from every classroom for being at school, not perfect attendance, but they can miss one day or be late one time, and their name is put in to receive a prize. So it's different people all the time. We have monthly awards for classroom attendance for the entire month, and we also do it every trimester. We also are involving this year Wednesdays, or our monthly community engagement time, where we are doing special activities with the students, whether it's buddy reading or science activities. We did the drug C-Red. It used to be the C-Red campaign. And that is now, we had all the kids dressed in red, and parents came and supported. So we're super excited about continuing that next year. Cross grade level collaboration has increased this year. Our goal, and it has been for quite a while now, is that 80% of our students are reading at or above grade level. We are confident that we are at 65 to 70% at this point in the year. And so we are looking forward to next year meeting that handily, is our anticipation. One of our big strategies to increase literacy and achieve student achievement is teachers are in each other's classrooms frequently now, observing, learning from each other. Our staff meetings are held in different classroom every staff meeting, so that we can see and learn, because we are our own best teachers. We also have an MTSS grant that allows us to do ongoing literacy professional development. All of the teachers at MP Brown are trained and collaborate around systematic ELD. Our teachers administer the LPAC, which is one of the reasons why our EL students are making growth. And we actually, when Ms. Pace came and visited a couple weeks ago, we only have, I believe it was 6 fifth graders in level 3. We've exited them all out. It's pretty amazing. So we are super excited about the work we're doing. And thank you.
So thank you for presenting those plans to us, and now I'll give my board colleagues a chance to ask questions or make comments, and then hopefully we'll approve.
Hopefully that doesn't sound very good. Anyway, I wanted to, well, first of all, appreciate all the principals for giving those presentations. We know that there's a lot you want to say, but we also appreciate that we have a lot on our agenda tonight. But all of you were within the 5-minute window, so we really appreciate that. I had one question for JFK and one question for Fernando. The question for JFK is, what things are being put in place to address the alarming 30% chronic absenteeism?
Excellent question. So we have been doing attendance awards both throughout the school, class by class. So we do a spontaneous, if you have perfect attendance, you get extra recess. That's one way to address the group. Individually, we have meetings with all families who are chronically absent, and we sit down with them, with the counselor, myself, and one of our attendance techs, and we have a conversation with them, translated if need be, facilitate them getting to school on time, making sure they understand where it goes from here. And also, especially with our youngest children who are the highest rate, it's a lot of young kids trying to get them to wash their hands more.
Thank you. And then my second question is for Fernando. What sorts of community activities or events have you used to engage your families, and or if you haven't done too many this year since this is your first year, what would you want to do next year to engage those families and kind of get them to participate more in the Fernando community?
Yeah, good question. So we have parent caregiver coffees. We've done them both in the morning and the afternoons. So we've had a few of those each semester, and we have noticed that turnout's been relatively low. So we're trying to kind of increase that by figuring out different ways to get them on campus. And so for, let's say, like the student-led clubs, we did, massive publicity with that and just trying to, get parents on campus to help support with supervision around that. And that worked out really well. We actually got a good number of parents to come in at lunch. And that's, I think, we've communicated that out to the parent caregivers. And I think it's made an impact, and it makes them feel like they're a part of it. Like one of the parents has brought her young child, like 2-year-old kid there. So it just really feels like a family atmosphere, but it's definitely a growth area. And, in terms of next year, I think just having monthly town halls or parent meetups where we can just kind of share out a little bit more via Google Meet or even in person of what's going on, but yeah, we definitely have been thinking more about that. So good question.
No worries. Thank you so much.
I have 2 questions for which I'd invite all of the principals to address if they wish. Thank you for the presentations, and it was great to see so much green and blue in your reports. And my first question is kind of, if there is one strategy from your school that you felt was really working and really replicable across the district, what would it be? I think a lot of the benefit of sharing this is bringing forth those ideas that all of our schools could take advantage of. And then the other question I have is about that chronic attendance issue, which is challenging for all of our schools, the whole state. I was just curious if we've heard a lot of common ideas of different reward systems that you've put into place. It seems like everyone's doing the right things, but if you had limitless resources, or if there's one thing that you feel like we could do to really address this, what would it be?
Okay, so first question was, one idea is that all teachers starting in TK, preschool TK, are trained in literacy instruction. Because without that foundation, you can't go anywhere. Like literacy instruction, and it's not something that necessarily, this is my soapbox, so sorry. It doesn't happen in credential programs. So it really does, unfortunately, in our education system in California, it falls back on districts and county offices to train teachers in how to teach literacy. And the second question was? I wouldn't say it hasn't been tried. I think it's just a combination of parenting, right? Kindergarten and first grade, it's their first year in school. They don't. It's kindergarten. It's just they're 5. And families are still wanting to go on vacations, and so really helping them understand the value of school, and that every day missed means that they missed out on an opportunity. They missed out on a learning experience. When you miss school, you miss out. And so really educating parents in that realm of what happens, because they're like, well, he didn't get to do that. Well, he wasn't here.
I guess I would say in answer to both relationships, for an exportable positive around the tier one, teachers developing good relationships with students. So then that way the students are buying in. That also helps with their attendance. And we see more student success because they know their teacher cares about them as an individual. And then, of course, for the attendance, the New York Times and Washington Post both just ran huge articles on this. It is a nationwide epidemic. But again, relationships. And not only the school's direct relationship with the family, but also students with each other. That's why we've been trying to do the collectivized incentive. So then that way all the kids want to show up. And if they're on the fence, they'll show up. And once you have that trusting relationship with the student, that if that tummy ache doesn't go away, we will actually call home, that kid's more likely to show up next time. And that's what we've really found to be an issue in preschool. The tummy ache is a big deal. So as long as we solve that, more kids are coming in. And like Principal Goff said, really creating those foundations in preschool, kinder, so then it carries forward.
I would want to emphasize the relationships as well. And I think student engagements, I think when students are engaged in the school activities, when they're seeing themselves in the curriculum, they get more excited about being at school. When they're engaged with their peers, engaged with their teachers, it's just a happier place to be and they want to be there. So I would add to the relationships as student engagement as well.
Yeah, echoing everything that was said, and then I would add just agency and increasing student voice and just continuing to make it a place where students feel like they belong and want to be. And I think what we're doing next year with the enrichment program is speaking to that and giving them a little bit of agency over their time and just tapping into their interest and who they are as individuals. So.
Thank you. So question again for Fernando Rivera. Universal screening data, what are you using to get the data?
So we're in the midst of piloting iReady right now. And so I think that's going to support the math and ELA kind of alignment around where our students are at. And, we have support classes that we're going to have for students next year embedded into the school day. So we'll be able to use that data to kind of inform who's going to be moving into those classes and what kind of support they're getting. So we're building that out right now.
Okay, so that would be for students with or without IEPs?
Correct. Yeah, if it works for their schedules, then
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. JFK. I was just curious about, I'm not sure if we've ever seen any percentages on PTA membership. So you said you have 60%. I was just wondering, is that typical for your school? And then the other principals can tell me what they think about that.
So we started doing this when I took over JFK in 2014-15, and we got the award from the Jefferson Council PTA for greatest membership increase. And I was coming from Tobias at the time, which had a very high rate, and we were 40% at JFK when I came on board. And so we've been mindful of it ever since, and we traditionally hover around 60 to 70%. Some years more. Before the pandemic, we were getting around 70%. You may remember me running around with green hair, but we've fallen short of that for the last couple of years.
Okay, thank you. So other principals, what are your membership numbers like for PTA?
We're actually at MP Brown. We're in somewhat of a down since the pandemic. It's been harder to get. So and that group of parents that was super active and they've all graduated and are moving on to middle school, so they'll continue to support it. So that's part of why we created the Wednesday engagement days in order to bring parents on. We have TK this year, so spending a lot of time. I just recruited a parent this afternoon to be part of the PTA and school site council for next year. So we probably are around 30% at this point, which pre-pandemic we were probably closer to 50 to 60 on average. So it ebbs and flows with parents.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we're not at that. I don't know the number, but it's a huge growth area for us. And so I want to make some changes for next year and having the PTSA in person. And it's really just about building community. And I think that when I first came to Fernando, a lot of people were saying that, you know, once they leave elementary, membership goes down. And so we've definitely been seeing that. And it started off strong, but yeah, it's really tapered off as the months have gone on. So that's a big growth area for us.
Okay.
Daniel Webster is also not at that number and definitely an area for growth. We do have a lot of parents who do come out when we need them to come out and support, for example, any activities or family events. However, I think sometimes there's a misunderstanding about joining PTA and having to go to meetings. So kind of making sure that parents are aware joining PTA doesn't mean, you know, we expect you on site all the time. So
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
Okay, thank you for saying that. And also, I just want to put out there too that you might have a lot of parents that are engaged in different ways, but they're not official members of the PTA. So I definitely understand that. But it's just good to hear that you are tracking at least, you know, the improvement in the numbers. And then I have another question for MP Brown. Let's see, you mentioned cross-grade level collaboration. Can you give us an example of how that's taking place?
So Wednesdays during collab times, a lot you'll find kindergarten, first grade, and second grade are working together. All of our ELD classes, because we do not, unfortunately, have an ELD MTSS teacher this year, so everything is done by our classroom teachers. So in order to create our TIG groups, which are the third, fourth, and fifth grade, and K1, 2, you have to talk to each other because all those kids are going based on their language level into those classrooms. Okay. And so our focus is on language and literacy. So those that are not in the in a designated ELD strand are also leveled based on their reading levels. And so teachers were constantly talking about reading levels, phonics, what interventions are you using? How are you getting them to, you know, sound out words and all that fun stuff?
Yes, and when you're talking about literacy, you're talking about across all subjects.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I'll be interested in seeing some of what you're doing in that area at some point. And then you also mentioned that all the teachers have been trained in how to administer the LPAC.
Yep.
Can you tell us what LPAC
English
stands
Language Proficiency Assessment of California.
for? Okay, thank you. So I think that's commendable, you know, because I know I've been asked before to administer that. And even though I have that in my credential, I can work with English learners. I said no because I was busy doing, you know, other things. And so anyway, that sounds great to me. So I don't know how many of the other principals are thinking about that, but I want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Any other comments or questions? Okay, let's give them another hand. You know. And so
We
now
do
we
need a
can
motion,
vote. So do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the drill session.
Second.
You all right?
Maybe you can rephrase that just for a minute.
Just so moved.
Second.
Okay. Motion in a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimously approved. Wow. Item 11A, certificated personnel. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from Teresa Nealon, 6'8", English Language Arts and Creative Writing teacher, TRP, Thomas R. Policita, effective 6/8/2024, and also requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending her for her years of service with the district. Ms. Nealon has been employed by the district since September 1st, 1995.
Just want to congratulate Teresa for her, thank you for your many years of service with our district. She came down from Susan B. Anthony when it changed from a 5-6 school to a K-5 school, and came down to TRP when it changed from a 7-8 to a 6-7-8. So she was one of the introductory sixth grade teachers at TRP, and she's always been an advocate for our students, and I just want to wish her the best of luck in her retirement, and congratulations, and a little jealous myself.
Okay.
This may be out of order, but can I ask to move item 11B off the consent agenda?
Yeah, we haven't got there yet, so
Actually, do we have to motion
we have
since you
to-
already approved it?
if
You'd
you
have to
wanna
make a
s-
motion to
yeah.
do that and then approve it because we already approved the consent agenda. It's already been approved, but if you want to comment on it, you could make a motion to remove it. But why don't we finish 11A first and then you can make that motion?
Okay, so do we have a motion to approve this retirement?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, and since this is we're asking for a resolution, so we,
It's not a resolution.
Okay.
It will be prepared later.
later, okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. Thank you, Ms. Nealon, for your service, and congratulations. So did you want to make your motion now?
I'd like to move to remove item 11B from the consent agenda.
I second.
Okay, all those approved say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So item 11B, certificated resignations. The administration recommends acceptance of the following resignations. Nikhil Duda, sixth grade math science teacher, FDR. Resignation effective 6/7/2024. Mr. Duda has been employed by the district since 8/10/2023. Samantha Wiebort, SDC PK teacher, GP, resignation effective 6/7/2024. Ms. Wiebort has been employed by the district since 8/10/2023. And Sean Higgins, intermediate principal, FDR, resignation effective 6/21/24. Mr. Higgins has been employed by the district since 7/18/2017.
So I requested for the removal of this item because I wanted to thank Principal Higgins for his service to our district and to wish him well on his next assignment. My kids have been fortunate to attend FDR under the leadership of Principal Higgins. And I'll just say the first thing you notice about Principal Higgins is he is out every morning to greet students as they come in, opening doors for cars and welcoming students as they come in, which I think is a tremendous model. And the other thing that I really took note of are the videos that Principal Higgins has made for students. And this was, I think, particularly important during the pandemic, such a time of lost connection. And, you know, my son, before even starting at FDR, watched all of those videos. And I think they made a tremendous difference to the students, right up to the video he made announcing his move. And, you know, I think it was very honest. It was very clear, you know, what the step was and why he was taking it, and the heartfelt well wishes that he had for the entire school. So congratulations on this next chapter, Principal Higgins. And with that, I'll move to accept item 11B certificated resignations unless any further comments.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimously approved. I also want to just say, yes, also give my gratitude to you, Mr. Higgins. I really appreciate your accessibility, the energy that you brought to our district and the school. And I'll never forget, those Yosemite trips that you planned as well. So thank you so much. Item 12A, retirement classified personnel. The administration recommends approval of the retirement request from the following classified employee and requests an appropriate resolution be prepared commending her for her years of service with the district. Rima Zarur, Senior Department Accounting Assistant, District Office, date of hire 5/04/1987, effective 6/30/2024.
So Rima was hired when I was a month away from graduating high school. And, she's just such a wonderful, positive energy here. And I want to wish her best of luck in her retirement, and she'll be missed. I know Mr. Lauro here, her direct supervisor, has a couple of words he'd like to say.
Yeah, Rima, she's an integral part of our department. Everybody in our office calls her Mama because she's the mama bear of the department. She processes every check and invoice that comes through the district, which is in the millions. She does it. And so, every one of your signatures she checks and yeah, she has a very close detail-oriented eye. And yeah, we're going to miss her. Everybody's pretty shook up, but we are very happy for her to enjoy a well-deserved retirement.
Well, thank you. Mrs. Aurora is one of those, hidden warriors behind the scenes, keeping things going. So the treasury, our treasurer, our money, keeping account of everything, that's paramount. So thank you so much, Ms. Aurora, for your service. Did you have anything? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve item 12A.
Well deserved second.
Okay, so this has a resolution, but we're still, okay. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimously approved. Item 13A, board policies, administrative regulations. Item 13A, board BB 9121 president and BB 9230 orientation board bylaw, second reading. The administration recommends adoption of the revised board bylaws 9121 president and 9230 orientation as stated in a second reading. Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve the the bylaws.
Second.
We have a first and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Unanimously approved. Item 14A, Board Study Session CSBA and AXA 2024 Washington, D.C. Coast to Coast Federal Advocacy Trip. And myself, I will highlight some of my learnings as well as give a report about my attendance at the event. And we will reschedule the presentation from Ms. Liana Anoa'i.
Would you like the clicker? Would that help? Okay. Mr. Valenti, would you?
You got it. So this will be real quick. So we just came back from the Coast to Coast Washington, D.C. Federal Advocacy Trip. It was sponsored by California School Board Association, and this was my first time attending. I've been to the state event several times, but this was the first time that I was able to go to Washington, D.C. So we attended the conference. It was at the Mayflower Hotel. We had policy briefings and general sessions. We were able to meet with stakeholders from Congress and other education leaders. We discussed funding was the main thing we discussed, and we did discuss some policy. I went on my own personal tours of the historic sites and monuments. People were catching Uber and taxis, but I wanted to just walk. So I stayed alone on those excursions. We also had a reception in the Capitol building. Was interesting standing right on the side of the Capitol building where people, rushed in there. The energy was, I could still feel that energy and just thinking about that crazy day. And then we learned a lot about the latest government initiatives and national and state approaches to improve education. The highlight of the trip was Lobby Day. So after we received all those policy briefings and then talked with other members of school boards in North County and Southern California, then we were placed with school districts that were close together, and we got to go talk to our representatives and discuss those things that were talked about in the policy briefings. And then I went off script, as I do, and I was able to say verbatim what I asked Superintendent McCulick I should be talking about, because I've been to these types of events, not through this coast to coast, but I know when you have large groups going out to DC, they give you very little time to actually meet with the representatives. And there's so many people that you only get like a couple minutes at a time, or each person. You kind of have to just rush, get yourself in there in the conversation. So I went there with my game plan was to follow the script all the way until people were, relaxed. And then I went off script and I read verbatim with Superintendent McCulick talked about, which is the fact that, we have this mandated funds towards special education, restricted funds, and then our enrollment, our ADA is going down. Our enrollment is not down, right? ADA is down. But our more students are qualifying for special education services. So we have this gap. So we talked about the need to have the government somehow reimburse us when we're spending more than what they gave us. Let's see, what else did you talk about, Ms. McCulley?
I thought you went to this. No, it was just more about there's mandates for special education that we're required to support, which we want to, but the federal government does not give us enough funding to support the mandates that they give. And so we were discussing how to have you help us advocate for more funding for special education, because a lot of times we always say it encroaches on the general fund, but we want to support all our students with the needs that they have. And if we were funded, we could. So that was the main part.
Yes, and then we talked a lot about teacher recruitment and retention. Everyone talks about that, but I was able to, once again, just remind people that I think we're doing a good job of marketing how all of us are doing recruitment, but retention, I think we can do a much better job. And we talked about home ownership as being one way to incentivize people to stay in their district, especially if the cities get involved. And so the idea that I put out there was that if we have agencies that we refer teachers to so they can get assistance, whether it's for the down payment, closing costs, whatever it is, there should be a way that the federal government and the state governments can help us to match those funds. So any teacher that wants to take advantage of those programs, we could also match whatever those funds are. and the city could match those funds as well, and we could really help people to stay where they want to teach, as opposed to getting people in, training them, teaching them, and then they move out somewhere else and buy a house, and then they're not in our district anymore. And I've been to Washington, D.C. probably about 6 or 7 times. And, I've been to the Lincoln Memorial several times, but I hadn't been there since the Martin Luther King Memorial was erected. So I made sure I took a picture of that as well. And this last slide is just when we were at the airport in Washington, D.C., waiting for our plane, they announced that everyone on the plane that was coming in that we were going to get on next was, it was a special flight honoring war veterans. So everyone in the airport gate, we all got together and cheered them on and took pictures and videos of them coming off the plane. So I thought that was a really cool, special moment. And I think that's it. You told me less than 5 minutes.
I should have put a timer on you too.
Any questions from board members?
I have 2 questions, but if you want to go first, you can go ahead.
I was just wondering if you got any response from the politicians that you met with on those tough questions that you asked.
Good question. So
Can
in
you
the
repeat-
moment.
Can you repeat his question? Your microphone was not on.
Oh,
Just for the
Just-
people at home.
Thank you. Yeah. Wondering if you got any response on those good questions that you asked of our leaders about education.
yeah. So the question asked about special ed, I mean, that was one of our policy briefings was about special education and also secure rural schools. So that was discussed at length, and there was a lot of response to that. And of course, nods and agreement, got that so far. But as far as getting beyond the recruitment and talking about housing and I guess housing, of course, was brought up as one approach to help recruit and teacher salary, right? So Kevin Mullen, his response was that not in agreement when I talked about doing better with retention, but he also mentioned that, teacher housing is a national model. But, we're ahead of that. So, anyway, so the response was positive, but I also made sure to get the information of one of his chief aides, and I've already been in contact with them and thanked them and said I wanted to continue the conversation. So we will be continuing the conversation. So if there's anything that you want to ask or, I'll be asking everyone, even the public. Before I went out there, I did ask Ms. McCulick and then some of my teacher colleagues in South City and some community leaders about what I should be advocating for when I went out there. So I definitely want to keep that conversation going.
Okay. Mine are very difficult. Did you meet any famous people?
I was able to, that's actually a good question. So we went off script a couple of times out there. During lobby day, instead of waiting around for our meeting, we did sneak into a few congressional hearings. So I was able to sit right in the front row and close to Barbara Lee. And I caught her in the hallway after she had asked some questions, of the Secretary of Education. And I guess she just went to the bathroom or something, because I don't know why she was out there, but I was able to say hi and thank you and, and tell her I was from the Bay Area, so that was pretty cool.
And then my second question is, would you recommend this for other board members?
Yes, definitely. I think everyone should have this opportunity. I also am planning to go to other school districts that are part of CSBA that did not send anyone, and just tell them, that I highly encourage them to send someone next year. So yes, definitely.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Okay. All right. Let's see where we are. 16? 15. Okay, yeah, 15. Governance, team member comments, reports, future agenda items, and board meeting reflection. And we'll start over here.
Our overall guideline is to keep our focus on the best interest of our students in order to provide an equitable future for our district. And so I think that we accomplished that tonight. In many ways, I think that the meeting represented a lot of what's best about JESD, from our spelling bee winners to our win on the passage of the parcel tax measure, to the excellent presentations by the principals tonight on their schools presenting their SIPSs. So thank you very much. Excellent meeting.
All right, so I know this is no longer one of ours, but I really think we kept our comments concise and to the point. I mean, we were planning on a lot later. Congratulations to our measure, again, our spelling bee winners, our artists from yesterday, and thank you also to our regulars. We see you in the audience all the time who are constantly here, and we really appreciate your attendance. Thank you.
I just want to echo what Trustee Rashba said. This was very diverse meeting tonight. We handled a lot of business and congratulated ourselves and thanked people. So keep up the good work, all of us, everyone. And looking forward to continuing to work with all of you more. And with that, I also will say that, yes, we're doing a good job of keeping our focus on the best interests of our students in order to provide an equitable future for our district. Superintendent McCulloch.
Yes, I want to thank the principals again for their presentations tonight. And because they were so concise, we are way above my schedule that I had predicted. So thank you. And then also, I want to thank Ms. Covery again for the lovely reception we had. And just a comment during the reception, a community partner made a comment about the community and said, wow, I've been to other board meetings and this is such a nice community. Everyone was smiling when I walked in. The board is very collaborative. So it was just a nice comment from someone who goes to many board meetings throughout the Bay Area, and they were saying, giving us really nice compliments. So I want to thank you all for representing our district really well. Thank you.
Nice. So do we have any persons wishing to address the board? Okay. All right. Well, at that, we will have a recess for 3 minutes. And thank you. So we'll convene back at 9 o'clock sharp, so I can get you that.
Hey, Bill, please, I'll CC you. Yeah.